Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Elisha's Bears. This is Pastor Danny, and thanks so much for really just sitting around this virtual table today. And also, thank you for the follow. If you haven't done that already, I'd encourage you to follow the podcast. Today, I'm very excited to have Elaine Streno with us. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Second Harvest Food Bank of East Tennessee. Elaine, did I get that right?
You did.
Well, listen, I'm very excited to have you here, and we're going to talk about a very important topic. I was looking at the website. It says you've been serving for 30 years. Does it seem like 30
32.
years, and how did you get started?
I actually just had my anniversary. It's 32 years.
Okay, I want to make sure we get all of that.
Yes. So I majored in social work. Um, I had no idea what I wanted to do, but if I ever had an opportunity to give back, I wanted to. And the job became available, and I saw it in the paper, and I applied. And it was very small back then. It was
I was going to
very
ask you,
small.
have you been CEO the entire time?
I have. But when I started in '93, and I even had the job in the mid-'80s for 1 year. I won't bore you with the detail, but,
Okay.
same job, but, very tiny place. It just well, as I shared, it's been in Knoxville serving East Tennessee since '82. But anyway, I just happened to see an ad in the paper. But when I started, it was very, very small. There were, like, 5 people. We weren't distributing a large amount of food, and, I'm just grateful that I've had this job, to be honest with you. It's just been an honor and a privilege to be able to feed the hungry in East Tennessee.
Yeah. Well, are you all located?
So, w yeah, our distribution center, the only one, is, in Maryville. We were in Knoxville until 2011, and, this building, which is magnificent, and I appeal to everyone who listens to you, and you too, to come visit us because it's a beautiful warehouse of about a 90,000 square foot warehouse. It was empty because it was built right during the recession, so the company went bankrupt. So we were able to buy it at a really big rate and moved in right past the airport. It's not that far, but I moved out here in 2011.
Wow. Well, if you knew then what you know now, could you have imagined that this organization and work would have grown the way it has?
No, it's funny. We're part of Feeding America, which is our umbrella organization. There's 5 Feeding America affiliates in Tennessee. We serve each county in the state of Tennessee, and there's 200 affiliates in the country. But I would attend other food bank conferences and realize we had a long way to go. And the big turnaround, Danny, for us, can I call you Danny or should
Of
I call you
course.
Pastor Danny?
Either one.
Was just the giving, the generosity of our neighbors has made Second Harvest as big as it is. We couldn't do it without the donations.
Well, we had talked over the phone, kind of setting up this time together, and you mentioned that doing media and really part of your role is
Mhm.
PR. That's an important aspect of what you do, isn't it?
It is, it sure has been the last 3 weeks because with the SNAP mess, the media has been out here a lot. The demand for food in the last couple months because of all the craziness has increased significantly, just people needing food.
Yeah.
So, we've been very busy, but yes, it's one of my roles.
Yeah, I want to talk more about that in a moment, but I was curious, and we've been here about 6 years, and of course I've heard about and know about a Second Harvest, but I was curious about the name, and maybe it's self-evident. How and when did Second Harvest get started? Why is it called Second Harvest?
Well, the network was started because back in the East, there was a lot of food thrown away, and there still is, quite frankly, just in different manners. So some very dedicated souls wanted to start a network where a warehouse entity had to be there. So the food that would have been thrown away would be donated to a Feeding America entity. And back then, Danny, it was called Second Harvest. It wasn't called Feeding America. But obviously it means the first harvest, you know, is harvested, and then there's food left over, and there's still a lot of food left over in our country that gets tossed, and
Yeah.
that's what we were set up to do, is salvage that harvest that people would throw away. "Please give it to us. We will feed the hungry with it,"
Yeah.
which is how it all evolved.
Well, you mentioned Feeding America, and I was looking at their website, and you mentioned Second Harvest, your partner
Mm.
with them. just to kind of run through some numbers that it's hard to really comprehend these numbers. I was going to mention them and get your thoughts about them. It says there are 47 million people who face food insecurity in America, and 1 out of 5 children don't have enough food to grow up strong. And then closer to home, and I got this off of your website, about 214,000 in East Tennessee experience hunger. You serve about 18 counties
Yeah.
here in East Tennessee, and you've got almost 800,000 partners, and I wanna get into that later, but
Not 800,000, just 800.
oh my word, that would I that would be
But
breaking news.
that would be
Yes.
breaking news.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
780, that's right.
Yep.
Well, eventually, these numbers turn into real people, don't they?
Well, they do. You're absolutely right. That poverty level that you read, it's a government formula for about a family of 4 that makes 26 to $27,000 a year, and 210,000 in our service area, which is 18 counties, live at that level. That doesn't mean they're all, going to our partner agencies and getting food, but that's definitely, a lot of people that live on that cusp of poverty. And it's so hard sometimes, Danny, to explain that to people locally. It's hard to grasp.
Well, that's kinda and you may have alluded to this, but one of the terms we use when we think about people being hungry is the term food insecurity. Is there a
Mm.
definition for food insecurity, or is it related to the level of income you referred to?
And it's related to the level of income. It's what is used, to tell the world and the country of, how many live at or below the poverty level, food insecurity. And again, there's, um, 210,000 that live in our service area.
That's just hard to comprehend.
I know it is. It is. But with all the programs that we have, and you have one at your church, you know
That's
that.
right. That's right, and we're
You
we're
see it.
grateful, and I wanna get into that too, but when you all those numbers that I shared, and you know them a lot better than I do, how does that make you feel? Does it make you think about what has been done or more about what needs to be done?
That's a great question. So, I know how far we've come, and I'm very proud of that. When I started in '93, our goal was to distribute 3 million pounds of food. Last year, we distributed 27 million pounds of food. That's a lot more food. So I feel so good about how many meals we've been able to provide. We just discussed there's still a long way to go. And we can get into this. The spirituality and the emotional part of feeding the hungry feels it's part of who I am, but because of the dysfunction of some of our society, there will always be hungry, as Jesus said, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Did Jesus say that, or did one of the disciples say that? I think it was
Well,
Jesus.
Jesus said, "The poor you will always have
That's
with
right.
you," but
That's right.
that's all it's all interrelated, of course, and there's a spiritual component, and I wanna hit that in a moment too, but I was looking at the mission statement for Second Harvest. It says, "Second Harvest Food Bank is leading the community in the fight to end hunger," and there were some numbers there. A lot about tens over 10,000 people are uncertain where their next meal will come from. I was curious about leading the community in the fight to end hunger. What kind of tools are there that you use to fight this battle?
Well, we have one program, and we're very proud of it. It's getting people off the poverty list. It's something we started about 3 years ago, and we partner with an agency, and there's people that come to their pantry, and we try to give them some tools they need to help them find a job, help them with banking, help them with again, some people are raised in environments where they weren't given a lot of, strength and love to evolve. So we try to do that part of it, and then we've had success. We've had, like, 6 families in the last 3 years that got out of the poverty level, and then the other programs that we have are just about feeding the hungry. The Food for Kids program is one we're really proud of. That's when the kids take home food on Fridays because education is a real strong component and
Yeah.
you not living in poverty. So, did I answer your question? I think I did.
No, you did. And the thing is, when you answer a question, you get me to think about another question. I'm going to try not
Yeah,
to pepper you too much here.
that's
But
okay.
you mentioned there are 18 counties
Mm.
in East Tennessee that you all work with, but In some of the reading I've done, and I think I'm hearing you say the vision that you all have is providing adequate nutrition for a healthy life for adults, seniors, and children. So it's not just about having food, it's about having the right kind of food, would you say?
Oh, yes. That's one of the things we didn't do well at all back in the beginning. Everything was donated, and a lot of that was junk food. So we didn't have a lot of healthy food, which, as we all know, is to evolve yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually, you need to eat a little healthy. Although I just had a Snickers bar, so guess what?
Yeah, well, that's right. No one's going to see that.
That's
We,
right.
that'll be just between us. But your core values also, your core values are integrity, community, collaboration, accountability, and respect. And I guess it really boils down to regardless of your race or gender or your politics, people get hungry despite any of those things, right?
That's right.
So really
That's
no
right.
one deserves to be hungry. Would you say it's not, there's no litmus test. If you're hungry, we're going to try to feed you.
That's right. That's right. That's been our mantra. I can say this because I retire in June and nobody's gonna fire me, but I am a
Okay.
very strong Christian, but Feeding America requires that the spirituality of feeding the hungry doesn't come into the network, and we get that because there are some churches that, you know, they want to help feed you, but they also wanna help save you, and
Right.
Feeding America is real straight about let's just give them a bag of food. So we're in East Tennessee, especially with the many people we have here on staff that are committed Christians, we're very careful about that. But it's something we wanna do with love and respect. You know, the homeless situation in our service area now is just off the charts,
Yes.
and, the mental illness and the addiction issues that comes with that, it's really challenging, but we wanna help everybody who needs food.
Well, I wanted to get your thoughts about partner agencies, and I was trying to exponentially increase the number of those from 780 to 780,000 a minute ago. But who or what is a partner agency?
Well, you are. First Clinton Baptist Church is you have a pantry.
So a food pantry, the partner agencies, that would include food pantries. Would there be other partners too?
Absolutely. That's right. So, for example, if you have a nonprofit status, if you're a 501(c)(3) or a church, we are allowed to help any nonprofit feed the hungry. So we take food to CARM, and we have many, many church pantries. My church is Cokesbury United Methodist Church has a very large pantry. And then the other partners are the schools that we have our Food for Kids program in. So when you think about the 18 counties, there's a lot of churches that have a
Yeah.
lot of pantries. Now the pantries might be open once a month, but they get their food from us, and 70% of our inventory is purchased. So the agency has to pay for what we buy, but we charge what we spend, and it's always cheaper than going anyplace else because we're buying in tractor trailer loads.
Okay. So these partner agencies, like churches like our church, First Clinton,
Mhm.
we would get our supplies from you all. Is that correct?
That's right. That's
Okay.
why we say we're leading the fight against hunger because we wanna help everybody that's feeding the hungry. We can do it efficiently, and we can do it economically to help the agencies that are feeding the hungry directly. One of our
Well,
programs now is the mobile pantry, which our truck goes someplace, and we're feeding out of the back of it. So we are feeding the hungry directly too, but mainly through the help of our partners.
I understand. Well, one of the things I've observed here lately is of no surprise to anyone that's paying attention. Closer to home, these food pantries are kind of the ground zero for feeding people. I'm
That's right.
gathering the last couple of weeks in particular. From our volunteers in our Christian Service Center, I've been told we're seeing a noticeable increase with the number of clients to
Yeah.
be served, and I'm guessing that's not a surprise. Are you seeing and hearing that too?
Oh, absolutely. The demand for food in the last, 3 weeks has gone up. It's been growing the last 2 years, but because of the SNAP, people were panicked, and so it's been up 20%, from where it was last year. I hope that goes down. It's been crazy.
Well, let's kind of get into that a little bit. And I think the last day or two, we've been receiving word that of course, the federal government has been shut down about 40 days. And Governor Bill Lee had announced that $5 million in state funding was going to food banks to offset the impact to SNAP. Can you tell us what SNAP is And how does it work?
Sure, well, it was, the food stamp program,
Right.
and now it's an acronym for Nutritious Access Program. I can't remember the S.
That's okay. Supplemental.
It's that there you go,
Well,
supplemental.
when you have it written down in front of you, it's easier
It
to.
helps. Good. Thank you. So that's what SNAP is. It's the old food stamp program,
That's what
and
I'm
people that
most familiar with.
qualify.
Yeah.
Right. If you have a limited income in any way, you qualify for SNAP, which gives you $20 a week extra to have food and focused on healthy product. They're in the news before. They really try to limit any SNAP product to healthy product. But
Yes.
that's what it is. It's the old food stamp program, and a client, if you qualify again, your income qualifies you. You get about $20 a week to buy food.
Well, how did the loss of SNAP impact what Second Harvest could do?
Well, it again increased our the demand about 20%. And Governor Lee's gift was truly that. Our portion was 850,000, which meant we are buying a lot of food right now. It's ironic that it hit a food bank this the shutdown in the busiest time. I mean, a month before Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was crazy. So we really appreciated the gift. As a matter of fact, you're reminding me, I have to write that man a thank you note. But our portion was, and as I shared earlier, there were 5 food banks in the state, and each of us got a portion. So we're very grateful, and it's just for buying food. That's all it is.
What counties would you say are most affected or were most affected by the loss of SNAP? Are there maybe one or two that are kind of are on your radar more than others?
I would say all of them, but the rural counties are harder to get to. So I would think the people in these rural areas have a harder time getting to any program that helps. Blunt, Anderson, and Knox, I call them urban, and you know how Anderson can be very rural,
Yeah.
and so can Blunt. But those 3 are the counties we serve that have the most population, and then Sevier too, which has its own different Sevier County has its own different challenges because it's so great touristy thing, but
Yeah.
the workers don't get paid very much sometimes in the hospitality industry, so they're affected too.
That's
So, to
interesting.
answer your I'm sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
you mentioned severe with the
Yeah,
tourist people coming on the tourist side, but yet that's probably not something you think about if you go to a place like Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, Sevierville, that
right.
there are needs there too,
Oh,
obviously.
absolutely. Yes. Our website, and thank you for going for your thorough research. Our website tells the story about Second Harvest better than I. And again, our website is secondharvestetn.org, but it shows the counties we are in and the pantries that we serve. And even where our mobile pantry goes. We're now our goal was to get into every county in our 18 county service area, and we will in January have at least 1 mobile pantry a month in our whole 18 county service area.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I wanted to lean into for a few moments are how children are affected by all this.
Yes,
And children seem to be the most at risk for food insecurity. And you referenced this earlier about the importance of schools providing meals. And of course, the children can eat at school, but that's not an exaggeration to say that for many children, if they weren't able to eat at school, they might not be able to eat at all. Would that be correct?
well, yes, that's why our Food for Kids feeding program is so important. We are in about 250 schools in our service area and providing about 14,000 children, again, non-perishable food that goes home with them on a Friday.
Okay. That's what I was
Peanut
going to
butter
ask you.
crackers.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, Elaine, because
Yeah,
I noticed the language said you're trying to provide this discreetly for the kids so they can come and they have food on the week. But are these individuals identified and saying that there's a way that they're given the food to take home?
it's always through the teachers. There is
Okay.
no bureaucracy requirement. The teachers know what's going on with those children's homes and lives, and so the teachers are the ones who kind of administer it at the schools. Each school, I spoke to leadership Anderson County a couple of weeks ago, and there were 3 teachers in that class that I was so thankful they were there because they talked to the class about how important the food that we give these children. And again, this food we purchase is because of our donors and the generosity of the people that live here. It's a very expensive program because buying non-perishable peanut butter crackers and yogurt bars and all that stuff, it's not cheap, but we are helping these children. And the gift that I get in my position more than any other gift is when we get letters from the teachers who talk about, you know, little Joey is better at studying. He comes back into school on Monday morning ready to learn, those
Yeah.
kinds of things.
Well,
Um,
it's hard to focus if you're in the classroom on what's going on the dry erase board if you're focused on the fact you haven't eaten in a while.
and that's exactly right. It's yeah, it's a combination of the love that they're feeling from the community, their teachers who obviously make these children know that they're cared for, and then the food. And it's funny, I've been in the schools. We do try to do it very discreetly. We don't want to, tell the community Joey's getting food from us.
That's right.
And in some of the schools, it's very discreet, but in some of the other schools, the little kids are running down the hallway so excited, "Let me have my food, I'm ready for my food." So, it's cute, and we're, again, gratified to be able to do it and grateful to the community to allow it.
Well, let me follow up on that for a minute. Like you said, you've been doing this for over 3
32.
decades, and as you look back upon that, and you depend upon your donors and people who supply, food and financial support, but have there been times, that there have been disruptions in the supply line? And I guess I'm asking, have you ever thought or struggled with the question, are we gonna have to turn people away, or are we gonna have enough food to give out?
More than once, more than once. When recessions hit, the first thing that goes is a gift, right?
Yes,
When somebody in the household's lost a job, they're not gonna be able, and I'm sure you've experienced this in your church life. The first thing to go is a gift to a charity. So, more than once, we've gone in the red and tried to figure out how we were gonna do this. Had to implement some staff layoffs and, all of the things that go with that because we know Second Harvest is needed, but, yeah, there's been more than once that we've gone in the red and struggled to figure out how to get out of it.
well, I've read a lot of numbers a minute ago, and it's kind of hard to get your mind around that. But I did know on one of the blogs, I think it was entitled "Scare Away Hunger." I think this was right around Halloween time.
Mhm.
Some there are certain times of year, of course, that are more conducive to food drives. But I read that 1 out of 6 people, and this might be a little bit easier to get a handle on. 1 out of 6 people are at risk of hunger and are one meal away from being hungry. That's not an exaggeration, is it?
No, it isn't, and again, I've been doing this a while, but when the recession hit in '07 and '08, and so many, people I knew, companies closing, people losing their jobs, my husband and I both looked at each other and said, "How many paychecks are we away from needing food?" I mean, that's it, right? So many of us live on that paycheck to paycheck, so if one loses the job, and that's a good number because it is 1 in 6, that doesn't mean that they're not gonna be able to get out of it, they'll have the means, it's just a temporary thing, and that's my other fun thing about this job besides those precious children is, getting a gift from people who needed Second Harvest at one time or another. So, that I'm very firmly believe that God has a purpose for all of us, and we are all here on for that purpose. But through the addiction and mental illness issue that our country is experiencing, some people will never be able to find that purpose. And I'm thrilled that we can help feed them. But those who can find their purpose and can give back to Second Harvest, those are the ones I'm most grateful for.
Let me follow up on that as a local pastor here in East Tennessee, and of course you have a number of partners with churches and nonprofits. If you could offer any advice or encouragement to churches who have food pantries and the volunteers, what might be some things you would say?
That you don't know the difference you're gonna make in their lives, and as easy as it is, and believe me, our staff does it too, as easy as it is to judge somebody driving up in a Mercedes needing food, which
Oh
we
yeah.
discovered quickly with COVID. So many people lost their jobs. That's another podcast, Danny, the
Okay.
COVID craziness that you can't judge. And then they really are, in my opinion, all God's children. But don't my point is don't lose hope. But the other point is you are human, and it is just keep remembering that they're all God's children.
Yes. Well, let's kind of lean into the spiritual component that this has for you, and of course, feeding the hungry. You know that's part of the church and its mission. There's a spiritual application, but there are people that are hungry and that are needing of clothing, and that coincides with the life and teaching of Jesus. I guess let's start off with the question: what is the motivation that's kept you going for 30 years plus two?
Well, um, I don't get into this often, but I was raised in a crazy, environment. My family moved a lot. We had 22 houses before we were 18, and it was just complete dysfunction. Just my father did not he wasn't emotionally stable. So there were times when, as a child boy, your childhood memory is so pro profound. I remember we would not have food or we wouldn't have Christmas and all the other things that go into the dysfunction of a needy family. So my mother was a rock, and we always had a church. We all attended the Church of the Nazarene. So we always had a church who supported us, and I ended up going to a Nazarene college. And my mother was just very adamant that we all try to get a degree. And the social work component was just because my childhood was pretty crazy that if I could ever give back, I wanted to. And it's they weren't food banks. There wasn't, anything. I just God just gave me this gift of, overseeing a food bank, and I pray every day, every morning, and thank him for that opportunity. But that's what motivated me to give back.
So, based upon what happened to you personally, and probably at the time, and maybe this is true with you. Sometimes when we're in the moment, we don't always realize how this might be useful later on. But apparently, those were critical experiences for you, and have been a kind of an anchor for you.
Absolutely. Childhood memories are very powerful, and some of those incidents that moved us and again, it was just dysfunction at its finest, running away from the rent and moving, landlords chasing you and all that, and that was the life that my siblings and I lived until my mother finally left my dad.
How has the life you've had, the influences and the experience that you just mentioned, which translated into your education, and then also with the work you're doing now, how has that impacted or influenced your view of gratitude? How important would you say gratitude would be personally and maybe as a catalyst for your work now?
It's a key component. Just for me, I am there are every morning my prayer is surround me with the purpose that you've given me, and then I go through a list of all the gratitude, what I'm grateful for. It's so powerful. And I mean things like being born in this country and the poverty that goes on around the world that just is so stark compared to our East Tennessee poverty because we do have agencies that will help you, like Knox Area Rescue Ministries and so many, and you know this, and Cokesbury, we have a recovery program, and there's so many things that can help you get out of what you're in. But my gratitude, sorry, back to your question, my gratitude is a daily prayer of just thanking God for so many of the blessings that I've been given. This job being one of them.
Well, you mentioned Thanksgiving, and of course, Christmas is just around the corner. As it relates to the work of Second Harvest, and I know that for us as a church, we've already had several phone calls about when you're going to give out the food
Absolutely.
boxes and that kind of
Right.
thing. How does the work at Second Harvest shift or change as it relates to the holidays?
It just gets busier, but the giving's stronger too. The last 3 weeks have been crazy with people calling, again, needing food, but then wanting to give. So, we buy more food, it's more expensive. What you put on the table for Thanksgiving and Christmas is more expensive than your regular dinner, and, it's also people are focused on the hungry this time of year. Summer is very lean giving, usually, the sick the seasonal thing. And then, once we get closer to the holidays, the giving goes up.
Well, what else does the community? I'm going to keep you for a few more moments, Elaine.
That's fine.
What else does the community need to know about food insecurity and hunger on this important issue?
But I just think that we just need to pray for so many people. The dysfunction of a house in poverty, it goes hand in hand with people that need food. There are some, and I'll just give you an example, the last 3 weeks of people calling. Some of the people that we talked to who were just in tears about their next meal, because they were losing their SNAP. They are not employable. You can tell over the phone that there's a mental illness, there's an emotional illness. Some, not all, of course, but some will never be able to fulfill the purpose for whatever reason in their lives that they did not evolve the way God wanted them to. There's just a lot of prayer in my mind for people that come to your church, and I'm sure you have seen it. People that act like you owe them and you don't, but you wanna help them.
Right.
You want them to be grateful. So a lot of prayer, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Let me try to get you out of here on this one. If people want to learn more or know more about you and the work of Second Harvest, where can they go or look to get that?
Well, our website again, secondharvesttn.org. I would love to show anybody who wants to see our warehouse. We love to appeal to the community. Please come see us. This is the community's warehouse. And you can email me. I'm on the website, and everybody, all of our staff, and just let me know when you'd like to come, and we'll do everything we can to get you escorted around. And that, again, because of the giving, we're able to do what we do, and, I am in complete gratitude to this community. I didn't move here until '83, so I'm not from here, although my mom's from Chattanooga,
Okay.
so I've got some East Tennessee stuff with me. But,
Yes.
just thrilled that this community supports us the way they do.
Yes. Well, any final word about Second Harvest before I let you go?
No, but did I give you all the information you wanted?
You sure did. And if I didn't get it, I'll probably be bothering you again.
You can bother me.
We might do this another time, but
Okay, well, I love it, and thank you
well,
for thinking of Second Harvest.
Well, let's do this. I want to thank Elaine Streno, the Chief Executive Officer, Second Harvest Food Bank of East Tennessee, for being with us. I want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in and also for following the podcast. And until next time, take care and let's be grateful. Thanks, Elaine.
Thank you, Danny. It was nice to meet you.